Welcome to Dead Famous Chats. I'm Charles Dickens, writer, reformer, and a fan of long sentences.
And I'm Oscar Wilde, writer, wit, and believer that brevity is the soul of a good quip.
Oscar, your wit is legendary. Some say sharper than a surgeon's knife.
Yet somehow less appreciated in polite society. Tell me, Charles, does earnestness ever get exhausting?
It can. But poverty, injustice, and orphanages rarely respond well to clever one-liners.
But I find clever one-liners the perfect antidote to everything, except perhaps creditors.
Speaking of money, you did famously declare bankruptcy over unpaid champagne bills.
Charles, if one must have debts, they should at least sparkle.
I preferred spotlighting society's ills rather than its bubbles.
Yet we both wrote about Victorian hypocrisy, though your books are heavy enough to knock sense into society physically.
And your plays are light enough to gently mock it into submission.
Precisely. Your characters suffered nobly, mine simply looked noble while suffering very little.
Oscar, have you ever considered writing something long?
Heavens, no. I believe in brevity. I once edited a novel down to a telegram.
I believe in detail. Characters with entire backstories written in the margins. I once introduced a side character with a 6-page weather report.
And I'm sure your readers loved every atmospheric raindrop. But give me a drawing room, 3 characters, and 1 scandal. The rest is decorative fluff.
And yet, it's the fluff that often outlives the foundation.
True. Much like my hair.
Do you ever regret that your reputation is more famed for epigrams than epics?
Not at all. If I wanted to be remembered for chapters, I'd have written fewer of them. I aimed for brilliance, not bulk.
Fair enough. And yet, your brilliance often came wrapped in lace, while mine wore a soot-covered coat and carried a lunch pail.
And both were, in their way, revolutionary. Yours for shaking Parliament, mine for upsetting dinner parties.
Oscar, if we were to collaborate, what would it look like?
You'd write 1,000 pages about a chimney sweep's moral redemption. I'd cross it out and title it The Sweep of Society.
I'd call it Great Expectations, the musical.
Only if I could star in it.
You'd steal every scene.
That's the goal, Charles. That's always the goal.
Oscar, I must ask, how do you feel about modern adaptations of your work?
Adaptations? Darling, I believe in plagiarism. It's the sincerest form of flattery.
True. I've seen A Christmas Carol adapted into cartoons, musicals, and something called a Netflix original.
Imagine the royalties. I wish I'd thought of writing a ghost story with holiday cheer. My ghost simply whispered scandalous gossip.
But your scandals had such style. My villains usually just starved children and evicted widows.
You know, Charles, your books taught me a lot about suffering, mainly how to avoid it.
While yours taught me about fashion. Apparently, velvet jackets were quite the statement.
My dear Charles, velvet jackets weren't just a statement. They were punctuation.
Oscar, do you believe our works are still relevant?
Absolutely. People still pretend to read your novels and still quote me incorrectly at dinner parties.
The curse of longevity.
I do love how audiences today refer to us as classic. It makes me feel like expensive furniture.
I'd prefer timeless.
I prefer infamous.
Tell me, Oscar, if you could rewrite history, would you?
Not rewrite, simply edit out the dull bits. And add a few more parties.
I'd edit in more schools, fewer workhouses, and perhaps softer beds for my characters.
But Charles, comfort rarely leads to a good narrative. A plush armchair never changed the world.
No, but well-placed outrage might.
True. My outrage just happened to look better in silk cravats.
So what advice would you offer future writers, Oscar?
Never write sober, never edit drunk, and always dress better than your audience.
And I'd advise them to look beneath society's glitter, to see the truth, even if it's not fashionable.
I think, Charles, that's the one thing we agree upon. Society often needs a mirror, preferably with flattering lighting.
To change the world, Oscar.
Or at least make it laugh while considering it.
And that, perhaps, is our real legacy.
Indeed, Charles. Wit and wisdom, paired, of course, with excellent tailoring.
So, please, like, subscribe and ring the bell.